Today, we are joined by a very, very special guest. He is the 2024 NBA champion head coach of the Boston Celtics, one of the best coaches in the league, played ball at West Virginia, worked his way up, is just one of the best guys in the sport. Joe Mazzulla, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? What's up?
What's going on? How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Verse Us with Eric Nicksick. He is Eric Nicksick. I'm Randy Fainrich, and this is Verse Us. And you know the drill. Verse Us is brought to you by mybookie.ag. At MyBookie, you bet, you win, they pay. Thank you so much for doing this and taking the time.
Yeah, of course.
First and foremost, just how's the offseason treating Joe Mazzulla? How's everything going?
A little bit longer than you'd want it to be, but it's been good. You have to find that balance. I think, it's a great time to be able to just push yourself to learn not only from the past, but kind of figure out how you want to get better going forward. And then, catch up with some family time and that's it. So ready to get back at it. But this is kind of like the halfway point whenever you come to Vegas for Summer League. It's like the halfway point of the off season. And, by August, you should, have some concepts, some stuff you want to get better at. So, that's where we're at.
Awesome. And so explain Summer League, like for someone in your position. Like obviously you're not coaching the Summer League team. So are you out here just kind of evaluating draft picks, other talent? Like what's it like for you?
Just mainly support.
Yeah.
Just support. I think it's really cool because a different assistant coach every year gets to be the head coach of Summer League and they get to kind of do it their way. And, each assistant kind of has even more empowerment and responsibility than what they may have in the during the regular season. And then you're able to kind of put them in different situations. Some guys that usually coach offense, coach defense. And so just supporting the staff and then really just kind of supporting the players. Everybody sees everyone pays more attention to what, the guys do during the regular season, the 82 games. But, a lot of the guys that are playing in Summer League now started working out in June, started around in late May, early June. And so, this is like the halfway point of their development, their off season of diagnosing where am I at, where do I want to be by training camp starts. So they work hard and it's just a great way to support the players and kind of build relationships with, with those guys, throughout this time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. One more thing, obviously this offseason, like you guys, obviously, like you said, earlier exit than you would have liked, longer offseason than you would have liked. Obviously, you guys have made some changes with, players moving, getting traded, this and that. Is that something you're, I guess, talking with the team about or thinking about now? Or is that like once Summer League is done, maybe you start to approach that? Or how's that work?
I think you're always just trying to find different ways to be able to get better. I think when you're in it, and relationships are the most important thing. It's always hard to go through changes. Whether they're good or bad, the change is a difficult thing when you've built close relationships with people and you see how those relationships impact everybody around. But at the same time, the other side of that is you're getting other guys in, and so you're developing new relationships. And so you're really just focusing on that point right there is how do you plant the seeds to relationships? How do you figure out where you want to be from a cultural standpoint? The basketball, the tactical stuff that you want to get better at picks up kind of later in the off season, but the most important thing is kind of, honing in on those relationships.
Yeah. The NBA business is so interesting to me because it's like you almost get docked for being good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's hard to like really build that core. At least it seems like that today, right? You might get them for 3-4 years, and then it's like you gotta blow everything up.
It's just like what you guys do. It's you can be successful in different ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's it's like we talk about, and what I learned from the MMA world is like it's a game of matchups. And everybody has strengths, but also everyone has weaknesses. And you step onto the court, you step in the octagon, you're better than that guy at something, but that guy is better than you at something. And so there's no one way to be successful. And I think you just have to constantly find different ways to be able to do that. You can do it with the way we've done it in the past, and now we're in a situation where we have to find a different way to be successful, a different way to grow and develop and win and get better in that process of it. So you got to be flexible in the ways that you want to compete, in the ways that you want to get better, and the process towards winning can look different ways.
Yeah. What does off season look like for you, family wise? You and I talk about this all the time. Like the toughest part I think about our sport is that we don't really know our schedule.
Yeah.
And we don't really have an off season. That's one ththing I do admire about, NBA, NFL. They have a schedule and they know. So do you guys have like a go-to after the season's over?
Yeah. Well, first during the season, my wife tries to travel as much as she can.
With you?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
I call her my my emotional support dog.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get it, man.
I mean, it's like, she's going to love that. But, you know, I got to have her. And we have a cool routine. Like, we find a coffee shop. We journal together. We pray together. She reads the reports, make sure she's ready to yell at the opponents or the refs on games.
Perfect.
So we try to do that in season as well. But out of season go-to spot is the kids love Disney World. And then we go to Italy as a family. You know, we love food. We love just kind of getting away. And so those two spots are the biggest, but they're also here right now in Vegas. So I know you're going to take us out for guys night and show my 16-year-old.
We would never come back.
Show my 16-year-old a great time. But just try to integrate obviously you're here to kind of get some stuff done work-wise, but how can you integrate your family into it?
I think that's the thing that you and I really share the most in common is you know, we're in a position of servitude, right? And the one thing that we feel like the people that miss out the most is our family. So it's how can we involve them in our day-to-days? The one thing I do notice is that when I do involve Annie or I do involve the kids, they're also now emotionally invested and interested in the fighters, in the game. So like for me, that was kind of the cheat code was like, oh, I get to bring her. But not only that, like she gets to see what we do on a daily basis, what work actually looks like. And then when you are gone and you are working with these fighters, or for you, the team, that they know where that time goes when when you're not at home, you know?
Well, it's funny you said that because like my view of my, like it's when I was blessed to become the head coach, it was an easy transition for me. I didn't realize how hard the transition was on my wife. Like she didn't ask for this. Like a lot of the stuff that comes with it, she never asked for. And like I saw my wife from a different perspective when I started looking at the games from her perspective. Like, you know, she is in a stressful situation during the games and like there's so much at stake. And so I found a new almost appreciation for, you know, her support and her sacrifice. Cause I was like, damn, like I go to the games and like, you know, it may go well, it may not, but I kind of know what's going on. She's there all by herself. You're on the road. Maybe you're getting heckled, you know, security's got to keep an eye out for, you know, so there's like a couple, like, and so I was like, damn, like this really impacts you so much differently. And I have to be aware of that.
You know, what's crazy too? Like, you know how much you and I will take a loss, like how hard it hurts.
It hurts them more.
It hurts them more because like, I'm not the same at home. And like she battles with like my roller coaster of emotions, especially off of a loss, you know? And then like, dude, I'll be in bed. Like I don't want to do anything. So now the time that I am home, I'm not really at home because I'm taking this loss way too hard, you know? For you, I know it's kind of, I wouldn't say easier, but like you got to re-able to
we have like 36 hours before, but I will tell you, like, she does not help me get over losses. She's worse than I am. Like, as soon as I get in the car, like, you're just not going to call timeout. Like, what the fuck were you doing on that one? Like, we get home and she's like, we're feeding into each other. And so, but it's in a good way.
She was an athlete too, though. Yeah.
She played volleyball. She coached. She not gave up, but like, you know, she sacrificed her coaching career, I think, for the betterment of our family, and I'm forever grateful for that. But like, she's a diehard competitor.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
diehard competitor.
You put some competitors in the house.
And so like, it takes like, I usually get home and your wife's kind of like supporting you, and she's like motherfucking me, like the refs, anybody like hates losing more than I do. So, but it's awesome. Like, I wouldn't want it to be any other way.
No, 100%.
Like, I would not want it to be any other way.
I think people don't realize how important it is for guys like us to have that support system. I don't think really, I mean, in this line of work, especially, it's very lonely, bro. Like, you know, we talk all the time because we know like the ups and downs. And then in our positions, we're always checking on everybody else, but no one very rarely checks in on you. Like, but so like, that's what I value about our relationship, win or lose. Like, I know I can just FaceTime him or talk or whatever. You know, he'll have a tough game or whatever, and I'll hit him up. And then we just, and the funny thing is, like, I'm calling to like console him. How you doing? What's up? First thing he's asking, hey, how's Ige looking? You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of our has always been our relationship. But it's funny that we're always like in that same role of always checking in on everybody else, but like we have each other. You know what I mean?
I think that's why it's important to develop the relationships. You know, stepping into the arena, it's hard to simulate that, and you have to find people who are in those similar situations to be able to learn from each other. And that's kind of how, you know, I wanted to learn from you, and kind of how we built our relationship was like your ability to be in the arena like that and just learn so much from it. But you're 100% right.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Just want to say thanks for continuing your support for the Versus Pod. If there's anything you guys like to see more, guests, comments, constructive criticism, whatever it may be, love to hear your thoughts. Please like and subscribe to the show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and enjoy the show.
You guys said a lot that I want to, two things I want to really get into. And the first was the switch from assistant to head coach.
Yeah.
You talked about a lot of like the the differences your wife and family had to go through. Is it the scrutiny? Is it the attention? Is it the travel? Is it kind of all of that?
I think it's just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's just everything. It's something that you can't prepare for. It just comes with it. So
especially the fucking Boston Celtics. Like,
it's the
you know what I
best.
mean? It's like,
and it's not bad. It's
Right.
just, this is what it is.
Right,
And so it's not good or bad. It's just life. And, you just go through life together, but you still have to have the balance of like, okay, this situation happened. It's going to impact me differently than it's going to impact my wife, and it's going to impact my kids. How can you be aware of that? How can you get through it together? That's the most important thing. And, sometimes I'm not always aware of that.
Yeah. I always love to peel back the layer behind the layer, because it's like we all see, okay, Joe Mazzulla, head coach, and he's dealing with X, Y, and Z, but nobody talks about the family impact and the things like that. The other thing I want to ask is, Eric and I talk about this too, like as coaches, you're also like the mentor for the room, right? If someone, and I don't know if NBA is the same as MMA, but like everyone in here is going to Eric at some point and telling them about their problems or how to deal with certain things. I'm sure NBA is very, similar. And all of that stuff that you guys get then goes to like your other coaches or your wives, right? So like, how do you almost like deal with the mental capacity that your wives go through? Because like, they're taking on, like you're almost dumping on them. So then like, how do you guys deal with like that, that back and forth?
I think it's the environment. And we were just talking about this because, obviously we came here to train with Eric, but he had to go to Nashville for the fight. And Danny and Maki stepped in. And so I think it's having a great staff. It's having people around you. It's having a culture. It's having an environment to where you don't want to be the sole the person that controls the environment. You want everybody to be able to do it, and you almost want it to run better when you're not around. Yeah, because it's a testament of the people. And so from top to bottom, whether it's front office, whether it's Kara, whether it's the coaches, even the players, like you want it to where you're not there, it runs better. And I think because of the people that you have around you, that you empower, that you rely on, it's able to kind of be that togetherness and that free-flowing environment. And you were just talking about the same thing.
Yeah, the ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's an important ecosystem to have.
Interesting that I just thought of this when you were talking about that, when you said the players leaning on each other. When I'm 36, so I grew up in the era where vets were like a thing. And I feel like vets are not necessarily so much a thing today, at least the vets that I remember. And so like, how are the players with that? Like, because Tatum's 26 and he's a vet. You know what I mean? He's like such a young guy. So how do the players do that? How do you see them interacting? Like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think leadership is, I think sometimes people, especially in the sports world, try to pinpoint leadership as one thing. And it's like, there's so many different ways to lead. It's not about making someone do it one way. It's about finding what that person's strengths are and how that person has an ability to lead and leaning into that and empowering everybody. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we don't necessarily do captains, is because it's like if you give it to one guy, then it'll disempower another guy from being able to use his strengths. And like, when the guys come in, they have to know that like what they do has an impact on winning, and it has an impact on an environment. And so I think it's just leaning into what each guy does best and, empower them to do that and know like when you do that, it makes our team better. And if you can have a bunch of people doing that, then I think you have, even more accountability and empowerment, within the environment.
Yeah. I just found that interesting because vets are getting younger and younger now. You know what I mean? They're like 3-year players, and it's like, he's a vet. And it's like, wait, hold on a second. So I've been wanting to ask you this for quite a while because, the 2022 NBA finals, you lose, all the things happen in the off season, and it kind of felt like your appointment came, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but you were like, what, 3rd or 4th assistant at the time, correct?
Maybe, yeah, something like that.
Something like that, right? And so it just felt like, again, like not out of nowhere, but it was a bit of a surprise. How did you handle, like, because again, yeah, it's a job. You're in we get all that, but like the human side of you has to feel some sort of anxiety or nerves or like fear almost. Like, what was it like?
I still feel that 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like that same, like I always ask some older coaches that have won or been around a long time, like if you still feel that, and the answer is yes. And they're like, when you don't, that's when you should get out.
Yeah,
so
like belt mentality.
Yeah. So like that's hopefully that never goes away. One, it was a sign of faith for me. Like it was I thought a blessing and a part of God's plan and something that just came up. And so it's easy to accept when you're supposed to be where God wants you to be. And the second piece is like, I didn't really have time to think about it. And so I was just like, fuck it.
Because it happened probably so.
Yeah, I was just like, I didn't have time to think about it. And so you just kind of go, you just kind of go. And again, I really relied on the environment of the Celtic organization because even though that change was made, there were still so many constants that had been there. You had Smart, you had Horford, you had Jalen, you had Jason. Like, you had players that had been there for 5-6 years. You know what I mean? You had Brad that was there. You had people in the strength and conditioning staff who had been there for 3-4 years.
And other assistants too.
And other assistants had been there. So the change happened at the top, but at the end of the day, the meat of what makes an organization successful had been there. And so you just had to lean into that as much as you can. And I thought that's what made the transition so much, as easy as it possibly could, considering the circumstances.
Yeah. Was there a moment like when you got home or whatever and you're like sitting there with your wife and you're just like, holy shit, bro, I'm the head coach of the Boston Celtics?
Well, I found out at like 10:30 at night, and I just sat in bed and I was like, hey, so I had to go to Brad's house and we talked about it, and I get home and I'm like, hey, by the way, we're now the head coach of the Celtics. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I've been trying. I said it out loud a couple times on the way home also. But yeah, so, again, I still feel that way.
Driving by yourself, like, holy shit.
Yeah. So I still feel that way today.
Yeah.
And I hope that never goes away. It's like every time I drive, I take Star Road Drive to get to the Garden, I pass and I'm like, man, like I get to, I have this. Like, you see people wear the jersey. Like, one of the coolest things is when you go overseas, really, and you see people with Celtic jersey on and they don't see you, but you see them.
Yeah.
And like, you get that sense of pride and that responsibility. So like, I felt that on day one, and I hope I feel that for, as long as I get to.
That's one thing that I love about our friendship is you've always helped me with my perspective on a lot of things, but the get tos and got tos, the power of the language of
you still have a choice,
right? But we get to do these things, and this is a privilege to be under scrutiny at times. It's a privilege to be in this position, right? Like, this is what we signed up for.
Yeah,
it
really is a privilege to be under scrutiny because it's all fleeting and it's all going to go away. But like, that to me is if you're under that scrutiny, that means you're in it.
It's the ultimate compliment.
It's the ultimate compliment. Yeah. And I think that's like, you're in it.
Yeah.
And when and it's the same thing as like we always tell our fighters or players, like when I'm not hard on you, it's when I don't believe in you. When you're not getting picked apart, it means that you suck. Like, you're just like, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah,
and so like, it's actually a compliment to be able to be in that space because it shows that you have the ability to do it. 2, it's like reaffirming the responsibility that you have towards it. And again, like, if it's just like the players, if not, then, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, and I don't think I even asked you this, Eve. I wanted to ask, like, how do you guys define roles for your teams, right? Because it's like, in your case, you're dealing with like the alpha of the alpha. Like, Francis is going to rip everyone apart in here if he wanted to, but like, he has a role, right? In your case, it's more on the like financial side. I feel like because these guys are like such superstar max, whatever players with egos. So like, how do you guys approach that as coaches? Like, how do you define these roles for these,
This is actually one of the first conversation pieces you and I had.
Really?
Yeah. So it was the first, I want you to answer it, but I want to get into like how we met and why I saw him out.
Definitely.
And it started with the 2 biggest things was that what you're talking about, because on TV you're seeing, okay, there's one fighter, but there's 3 or 4 guys behind the cage. You have 1 minute. One of the first questions I asked him was like, how do you organize your communication in the timeout? Like, who's talking? What are you talking about? How clean, how efficient is that? How do you structure that? And then I was
he's
like, okay.
the best in the sport at it.
I know. That's
he's
why I saw him out.
He's the best in the sport at it, for sure.
And then like, even like they practice the walkouts, like who's walking in the right place, like all that stuff is important. And then the second piece was like, I wanted to dig deep into a coach-fighter relationship. And I think he's the best guy at communicating, but the best guy at the relationship piece. And it was like, how do you build a relationship with your fighter? How do you build a communication style with each fighter? And how do you use that in fight? And I was, when I was studying him and got recommended to it, I was like, I want to learn those 2 things. And I think he's one of the best at it, and he's helped me with it. So you got to answer it for us.
Yeah, I mean, that was, to me, I thought one of the best line of questioning when you came in. You're like, well, how do you manage this guy if he's trying to talk over you, or this fighter if he needs whatever? I mean, to me, it was all about reps and being able to understand and connect with that fighter, and each one's going to be different. The one thing I thought was interesting when you were saying like how, and I won't say names, but like if somebody in your huddle wants to speak or they want to kind of take over, like how do you handle that situation because of the, let's say like Tatum or so-and-so wants to get their piece in. That was something that I thought was interesting for you and I, because we don't really have that issue with in our sort of corner,
Right.
You have coaches.
You don't have the players. The fighter's not like coming in like saying stuff. No, that makes sense. Yeah. But he'll send me videos of his in between round communication. And then like I like study that and figure out how I can apply it like my way. But I think that's the most important.
Yeah, he's the best. I've told him this so many times. He's the best. It's 15, 20 seconds of exactly, coach, go. And then it's like, coach, go. And then it's a wrap up, and then I'm out. And it's usually you got 10, 15 seconds left in that minute too. You know what I mean?
What's funny is like you got 1 minute, right?
Right.
Like most games we have 3 to 3.5.
Right. Because of TV timeouts and stuff like that
so,
too, right?
You know, some you have 2, I think, or 2:15, but like they can range anywhere from 2:15 to 3.5. And so navigating that timeout space is super important because you have to find the balance of like shedding perspective on what happened in the past versus on anticipating what you want to see for the next phase and how you kind of go about communicating that. You do want the players to talk in that capacity because like they're taking ownership. They're the ones that are out there, but you also have to say yours. And so when he broke it down about how he does that and studies walkouts and all, I was like, okay, like that makes a ton of sense about how we could be more efficient in that space.
So like for me, my third is a very important role. A lot of times, like my third, he might not say anything in the corner, but he's my eyes on guy. So I make him watch the opposite corner and give me any intel off of that. Are we working a calf kick this whole round? Are they icing his leg? What does that guy's body language look like? And you've seen it live because we've had that happen numerous times, like the Cyril Gahn fight where Cyril Gahn's body language was so bad that like we use that as
it's my I get chills every time. Look at that motherfucker, like just screaming in the cage. I'm like, oh my God.
No, like when he started breaking down the different dynamics of it, I started finding where I could see that in ours.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many.
Yeah, because I'm not saying you have a Strickland, but there's a Francis, a Strickland within your team as well, right? Different personalities.
It's also the opponent, though.
Sure.
It's also the opponent.
Okay.
So, like, not only am I worried about our team, but, like, based on what he's saying, like, just like he has a third guy looking at what they're doing.
I got it.
You're studying the dynamics of, like, okay, the best player on the other team walks over to the coach. You're studying their body language. Like, does the player agree with what the coach is saying? You know, does the coach agree? Then you're studying, like, the assistant coach who has the scout, his body language when he comes up and makes a suggestion to the head coach. You can tell if, like, the head coach is listening and doing what he wants to do versus what the head coach wants to do.
This is the
and
best
so, like,
part
when
of
he
it for
started
me,
saying that, like, when I started breaking down all the different, like, and can you break those mini relationships in the game to be able to give yourself an advantage? At the same time, can you strengthen the ones that you have, you know, not only in game, but over the course of a season? It was, when he broke it all down like that, I was like, man, there's a perfect space.
It'd be like if you just coach X's and O's, like we can all get good at that. But like it's the space between the notes that makes the music.
Yes.
You know, it's the little fine details that you can find to be, you know, better at and execute on and maybe people aren't working on, you know.
Optics, body language,
everything.
But then in-game communication too, like, you know, I started realizing that like your in-fight or in-game communication can be more harmful than helpful if you do it at the wrong time. Like I've seen a couple of, like, you see it in basketball a little bit, is like you yell right as a player is about to do something, and instead of running back on defense, he looks at you, and now you've lost a half a second. And like, like you're supposed to coach him, but like that quick moment that you decided to do it could have cost you 2 points.
Bad timing.
If you yell at your fighter and then he looks up, boom, now you get hit, you get struck, you whatever the case may be. And so like the timing of your communication is just as important about the style of way you do it. And like like I said, I think he does a great job of that.
Yeah, we always talk about like not coaching at a 10 because your fighter's going to fight at a 10. Sometimes you just need to keep them on cruise control. And then if everything's urgent in your speak, like if you're speaking urgent, then everything's going to be urgent to that fighter.
Yeah.
Right. And at some point it's like the communication needs to be calm, cool, collect, and believe in your training. Yeah. Right. Like, dude, there's fights where I won't say anything just because I know what the guy, like he's in his zone.
Jarzinho.
Yeah. We don't have to say much.
I did not say nothing. 20 seconds and it's a wrap. Can you break down how like a basketball huddle works? Because I always found that interesting, because a lot of the times, like you said, like you'll see the assistant maybe doing something on the pad or the players are talking. How do you delegate that?
There's like 3 or 4 out there. Usually the person, most of the time, the guy who scouts out there. So I mean, it all depends on why the timeout was called and when it was called. If it's just a routine media timeout, the first thing we'll do is we'll look at the score, and then we'll go through how each basket was scored, and was it a basket that we're willing to live with versus not, and the same thing on the other end, like was it generated? So you're just kind of trying to build a perspective. Let's say it's like 12-4, and it's like, okay, well, they scored 6 baskets. 4 of these baskets were like this, 2 we can't live with, and that one, that's just kind of how the game goes. And so you're kind of just leveraging about like, okay, what can we So that by the time I get to the players, you're building the perspective of like, hey, it's 12-2. They hit shots we're willing to live with. We took shots and we got great ones, and we just got to keep fighting for those. So like now, if you call a timeout because the other team goes on a run, now you have to build a perspective as to why that was called and what you need to do to be able to fix it. If they call it because of a run that you go on, you're trying to maintain that momentum. Knowing that they're going to do something, they've called it to stop your momentum. How can you maintain it, or how can you change to get it? So like every timeout is its own entity because of how and when or why it's called.
Got it. How do you like what? Obviously, we talked about defining roles, but like, what philosophies from MMA as a whole do you try to take and plug into?
I think there's not as many. We talked about some of the team philosophies, right?
Sure.
Like the team dynamic of how 4 guys with one fighter in there, but there's more individual dynamics about like I said, like the in-game communication with him and Ige, or him and a fighter. How can I get better at my in-game communication with my best players or the 5 players on the floor? How can it be efficient? How can it be effective? In a timeout, those 5 need to hear. How can that be as impactful? I think momentum is huge in fighting, and over the last couple of years, I've learned how important momentum is, and momentum plays and momentum opportunities. How can you take advantage of that momentum? How can you build a framework for that? And so I think those are the biggest areas. But also, like I said, I was talking over there before, is like what it really does for me is it builds empathy for the players. Like because I put myself in these situations with jiu-jitsu, with training with him, I put myself out there to the class or to the art in general. You're just putting yourself out there. That's what the players do every night.
Yeah.
And so it actually humbles me, because by the time I get to them, I have a level of empathy, for what they're going through. It helps me coach them better. It helps me understand, helps me assess the environment better. But it humbles you because, sometimes like now that I know what they're going through, I have to find a different way to hold them accountable. I got to find a more empathic way to hold them accountable. At the same time, like, hey, they also know I do it, so they know I think it builds a relationship because they know I'm putting my body and mind at the absolute pinnacle of and the absolute test. So when I do push them, they're like, okay, he gets it because I trust he's doing that in his life.
Yeah.
And you try to set that example.
Yeah. How do you get to know these guys on a personal level? I know for us, we're on the road together, we're training together, we're in the locker room together. Do you guys have that kind of same sort of relationship building that we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different. Like everybody's different. I've had players who have had, wife and kids. I have players that I go to church with. I have players that I like to have a glass of wine with. You got kids, you got young players that you build a relationship with them on the court mostly, because off the court they're single and they're doing whatever they want. And so it's really about how you do it on the court. So I think it's just different for every player.
Yeah.
But I found that like the most important thing I can do is just try to be myself. And that was like going back to like when I first got the job, it was like everybody in the building knew who I was. So if I came in and started to act like something I wasn't, I would have lost everybody.
Right.
And it's like, as long as they know that I'm being authentic, and it could be authentically weird, it could be authentically stupid, it could be actually just authentic. As long as they see me doing that, I think it just builds that vulnerability to be like, okay, now we can get somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone.
Sure. Yeah. I always wanted that too, because I can't imagine how tough it might be to build these relationships with certain players and it being a business to where they might not be there the next season. Like,
I mean, I might not be there the next
right,
season.
Right.
It's so volatile. It's not just them.
It's so volatile.
You know what I found? The 2 things I found the most is like, say what everyone's thinking.
Sure.
And if you could have a self-depreciate, like if you can like make fun of yourself.
Yep.
And if you could put yourself down, it builds vulnerability.
Right.
But just I say that. Like, hey, listen, guys. I don't say it as a team, but like individually, I'm like, hey, fellas, I might not even be here in 2 years. So like, I don't give a shit what you do.
Right.
Like you may have, but we're gonna do it now.
Right.
So I think if you just say what everyone else is thinking and you kind of like make
be a little self-deprecating too.
Yes.
At times.
But you do a great job of accountability first.
Yeah. But also it has to come from
that.
holding yourself accountable. Like,
100%.
I'm not afraid to be like, hey, I suck today.
Yeah.
And so I think say what everyone else is thinking. And then how can you just be so open about like, hey, like, because the guys are thinking that too.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think those 2 things are really important.
I think the most underrated asset or valuable in coaching in general, this is just from an outsider's opinion, is how much like interpersonal relationships and being a people person matters.
Yeah.
Like being able to deal with, aggressive people, submissive people, the super rich, the not super rich, like all these type of people, I think And again, in your line of work as well, like I think it's just such an undervalued and underappreciated.
But that's also
skill.
why I like it, is because in our similar situations, like the fighter makes more money than you, right? It's the same situation. Like there's very few leadership dynamics other than professional sports,
right,
where the decision maker or like the leader makes less than the quote, the players, or so to speak. Every other dynamic in the business world is flipped. It's like the CEO's here and everyone makes brother. Coaching is one of the only ones where it's like, we make good money, but the people that you're trying to influence make more than you.
Right.
So the whole leadership pyramid is flipped. So you have to find a way to inspire and work with people like that. And you have to find a way to be needed in a sense. And so it's very similar to that, is like, this guy's life's on the line, but at the same time, he knows that he needs you to just help him in like 1%, and that's where the similarities lie too.
Yeah, that's another thing I thought was interesting too, because when you got hired, you were 33. Yeah. Right. I mean, you're a young head coach.
You're 36?
I'm 36.
Are you young or old?
I mean, young.
All right,
but
great.
I'm just saying.
I'm 37, so I'm still young.
Yeah,
so.
Happy belated, by the way. You just turned 37, right? Yeah, happy belated. No, I think I'm young too. But and again, you're still a young coach. But like becoming head coach at 32, 33, Horford's been there already 15. He's been in the league 15 years or whatever.
It was kind of cool coaching guys right around your age.
Right. That's what I'm saying. How is that like dynamic?
So what was cool was like there was like 10 players in the league that I played against.
In college? Yeah.
And one of them was like Kemba Walker was one of them. And so like we had like battles against each other.
Yeah. You guys were Big East at that time too.
And so like then I was like coaching them. And we're the same age. Like that. So there was like 10 players. Like Brad Wanamaker was another one when I first got there. So there was like 10 players that I had played against that now I was coaching, and it was cool. Just kind of like, it was like a full circle, like basketball moment. And also coaching guys your age, that's where you have to connect of like, I have a wife and kids. Okay, those guys, 35, 36, so does he. So, I'm probably not going to bring up this topic with him. Whereas, when I go see the rookie, I'm probably going to, talk about this instead. And just finding what clicks with each guy.
Yeah. I always found that dynamic interesting because like you just talked about with the financial stuff, but then also just being the same age or right around the same age. It's weird. At least with MMA, like you have a little bit of a seniority kind of, deal with that. So, I don't know. I just thought it's just interesting. Game plan wise, I want to know, like, do you have like a set group of teams or players outside of like the normal ones or everyone would think of that are difficult to game plan for? I
mean, I think that's also where listening to how he breaks down his own fighters, but also the opponent. Like, to me, it comes down to knowing every team is better than you at something. And it's all about leverage of like, how can you leverage your identity, your style of play, your strengths, and how can you take advantage of the other, matchups, weaknesses. And so I think it's almost like I come into every scout when I'm doing it myself of like, okay, we're fighting this team. Here's all the ways they're better than you. And like, it doesn't matter if they're, in 10th place or in first place, everyone's better than you at something. And if you don't attack that, they have a chance to beat you.
Yeah.
That to me is like...
Is that something for you guys? Do you try, like when you identify a weakness, is that something you're trying to shore up during the season, or is that more of an off-season kind of switch thing?
No, I think it's I think it's like throughout the entire season.
Yeah, because it's so long, right? Like
It's so long, you have time. I mean, over 82 games, you're trying to win every game, but pockets of each game, you're working on a different identity, or you're trying to, if you could self-scout and be like, hey, this is where we're not great yet, this is where we have to be able to build to that. So you're working on all those things in real time.
How do you delegate that throughout the season? Is that more of a practice thing? So like, all right, we might be deficient in this area. Here's how we're going to attack it. And
it's a practice thing, and then I hope I'm ready for when the moment comes up. Sure. And it comes up a lot because, you play 82 games, you sit back to back sometimes, like, guys get hurt. So you end up finding ways to play different ways just because of the season itself. But you practice it first, and then you look for moments to be able to, put it in. You'd be like, hey, fellas, this is why we went over this. So you're almost like looking ahead to the schedule and be like, all right, well, if we're playing this team this way, we're going to try to beat them this way. Yeah. Knowing that we may be able to beat them that way, but we're going to save it for the next one.
That's so funny because like, that's the way we looked at Stipe and John Jones. It was like we were getting ready for Junior Dos Santos and Jairzinho with looking ahead in the schedule, knowing like later on down the line.
Which I feel like in MMA is usually a no-no. Right. Because you have to, but you kind of knew like Francis is about to nuke these guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I remember it was like heavy wrestling practice every day.
Every day. Because it was like we knew okay, this is the end game ish, right? But this is the development that we need to have.
Yeah.
Why not start trying to develop this 2 years ahead?
Yes.
Rather than a 6-week camp.
No question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's the other thing too. I think for us, like Edmund, for example, Edmund Shabazian won in Atlanta. Now it's like I give him a list of 7 things because we're in off season technically for him. These improvements out of camp. Once we can get these types of improvements, that means we can install that into the next fight or shore up any of these weaknesses or better sharpen some of these other tools. And then the new camp, then basically another set of game plans, we can do.
Yeah.
You have to lean on, I guess to your point earlier, like you have to lean a lot on the players and the supporting staff to like make sure they're doing their jobs when you're not around.
Sure.
Because Edmund needs to be sharp. Because especially in MMA, like you get a call and it's like, hey, can you be here in 8 days? And it's fucking Azerbaijan. And it's like, or 4 hours. So yeah, I guess you have to lean on those guys quite a bit.
So hold on, tell him about Ige in that. Ige looks up and sees Joe in that fight.
Oh, so we're in the in the Lopez fight.
Yeah.
So we're there last year. The Diego Lopez fight that he takes, and I was like, I loved Ige before. And I was like, man, to take that fight 4 hours before was great. So like me, my wife, and kids, we're all sitting like ringside right there, and then him and Diego towards the end of the round are like right next to us. And he's like, in the ground and pound, looks up, sees us, and in the middle of it, just like starts talking. And I was just like, it says everything you need to know about him, though, because it was like the ability to be able to do that in real time. Like he takes his job so serious, but he can keep it light at the same time. And that was a sick moment. That was so much fun.
So we like to talk about cornering. I do that with him because I just know Dan. I'll always crack a joke with Dan. Like I'll say something to him and like we'll have like a little one-liner joke in between stuff.
Yeah.
So like even in the Lopez fight, like after round 1 was over, I was like, so what were you doing? He's like, I was getting a massage, bro. We're having this like kind of fun conversation, and then back and forth. I'm like,
but that's knowing your athlete too.
Knowing your athlete.
Exactly what athlete you
kind
can
of
crack those jokes with.
Yeah. I think it was the last fight too. And I was like, dude, your mustache looks amazing. And Dan's like, it looks good.
He's like that? D. White is like that.
Really?
Is he?
D. White's like that.
Yeah.
Like he has an innate ability to compete at the highest level and take it serious, and at the same time, like he'll crack a joke with anybody at any point in time. He's that's the guy that I'll do stuff like that.
And you need that, bro. Like I have fun with that, like especially in those like high pressure moments. And all of a sudden, like I remember Chris Curtis was fighting in London. I was like, dude, is that Harry Styles front row? and Chris is like, is it? Like right in the middle of a fight asking it.
Last thing on basketball, and I want to get into a lot of MMA. I want to talk about New Orleans this weekend too. But how we kind of touched on it earlier, but like guys like Derek White, right? I think of the Thunder. I think of guys like Casey Wallace and Caruso, like those guys that really like they're like you have your big 3, but them guys are so important to like what the team does. When you go through any type of turnover or lose guys like that, I know it's next man up, but like it's got to hurt a little bit, Like
I said, I think that's part of the business itself is like the relationship piece. There's 2 sides to every relationship. There's a piece that we've lost people, but there's a piece that we have other people, and like that's the duality of life, really. Of like there's so many times in life we're always looking for choices and decisions where there's only good, and that's just not how the world works. Like usually every decision has a cost-benefit analysis to it, and it's just the way the world works. And so that it's tough to lose those relationships. At the same time, it breeds an opportunity to develop new ones, but also the ones that are still here to be able to empower and bring the best out of them.
What's up, guys? Get on the sports betting action by going to mybookie.ag. At MyBookie, it's easy. You bet, you win, they pay. MyBookie has over 150 bets for you to choose from anything from fights, hoops, football, prop bets, minute bets. It's all there. Head to mybookie.ag and use code VERSUSPOD. Not only will you get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000, you'll also get a $10 casino chip. That's a lot of money there. I've seen large parlays cash for less. Every once in a while, again, head to mybookie.ag and use the code VERSUSPOD. You bet, you win, they pay. Now let's get back to the show.
So I was saying earlier, it's like you get docked for being so good. Like your job is to, make the team the best as it possibly can be. All these guys do super well. They deserve to go get paid, but then you like blow everything up, MMA, how did you get into, like, have you always been training your whole life? Like, how'd you get into the sport?
No, not really. I mean, I did just karate as a kid.
Yeah.
And then as I started to get older, I just kind of went into basketball and soccer and kind of lost touch with the arts.
Yeah.
And then during COVID, my dad passed, and like the passing of him at such a young age, it like brought me back to my childhood, so to speak. And so like I was almost yearning for like the childhood relationship that I now didn't have because my dad wasn't there. And I just kind of tapped back in and into, a lot of the stuff that I gave up as a kid for sports, so to speak. And martial arts was the main one. And I thought it was also being in this environment of being a coach, it also mimicked, it's something that when you're doing it, it's harder than my job.
Yeah.
And when I got the job, I wanted something harder than by the time I come into the building, I've already done something that's significantly harder than what I'm doing here. Mm-hmm. And so now you're able to look at it from a different perspective. And it's also humbling. I mean, I think sometimes as a coach, you always come into like, who's coaching you when you become the head coach? Yeah. And so, there's a humility aspect to just getting your ass kicked from time to time, getting coached, at the same time being in these situations where your self-esteem is being tested. Like one of the coolest moments is like when you go to class and like you're looking around and like you're like, all right, well that guy looks pretty good. And it's like I get that feeling in your stomach every time of like, if I get matched up with him after class, like that's like, your self-esteem is always being tested when you're on the octagon for me on the mats. And I wanted that feeling so that I could handle it better, in my job. And I think those two things made it a no-brainer.
And were you always watching UFC?
I always watched it just because I liked it. Like, I mean, in my heart, I think I'm probably a better fighter than I really am. And so but I just love the idea of putting yourself out there at fighting and everything that comes with it, the mentality that you have to go through, the mindset that you have to go through. So I've always watched it as a fan, but then, as I got into it, I was like, I want to study this about how it can make me a better coach, but also a better person.
Yeah. And so how did you guys get like connected? Because we talked about you reached out because of the communication thing, but who was the connection? Who was the 1 degree of separation?
Dr. Duncan.
It was Dr. Duncan got us over because I went over to the
Duncan
UFC
at the
facility.
PI. Yeah. Okay.
So I went over to the UFC facility first because I wanted to study. I was training there with Professor Alex, but I also wanted to study. As I was in the building, I was like, man, this is one of the best psychologically positive messaging. Like I think that building has great messaging psychologically to its fighters. Like the way where they put pictures, how they put pictures. I love that the octagon is upstairs. Mm-hmm. Like most courts are either on the same level or down, but having to walk up to go train, it means something. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking at how we can make our building, psychologically messaging the things that are important to us, similar to that building. And then, we're meeting with stuff like that. And then he kind of brought me to here. And so me and Sam Cassell just drove from there to here. And then our relationship took off.
Yeah, Sam came in and we spent like 3-4 hours. We watched, hung out, watched sparring. Mm-hmm. I'm a big Florida State guy.
Yeah, so I was gonna say. I thought maybe that was the connection somehow.
I walked in and Sam Cassell sitting in my office. I was like, yo.
Yeah. So for like 4 hours straight, just picking him and Ige's brain, talking about that, watching sparring, just studying all that, and it's been super impactful for me. And now, like the other thing that's been cool is my kids are here training this week, and so like now it's like a full circle moment of like. When we're about to train now, my kid's going to be in there and you're just teaching them. Like, I think, the other thing about like team dynamics, but in life in general is like, you can hide psychologically in the world today. Mm-hmm. The one place you can't hide is in a fight. And, you want to be able to train yourself to not hide psychologically. And that's what I want to give to my kids is like, hey, like when you're in this, you may not be a fighter, you may never get into a fight, but when you're in this workout or this moment, you cannot hide psychologically. Yeah. And sometimes in team sports, you can hide psychologically behind your teammates or you can hide behind the team game. Like, I'm teaching my kid now, like he's a linebacker, he could play a good game and still lose. So, this kid's walking to the car like, I got my 4 tackles today. Right. But how can that's hiding psychologically from the fact that A, you lost, and B, you got to find a way to be better. Mm. And there's no really other space to do that than the mats, than the arts in general. Man, like that's the one thing that really inspired me in meeting you was your passion to find any way possible. To win. Yes. Like, and that was a very first thing I grabbed from you when we talked. I'm like, what are you here for? And you're like, it was unacceptable for us to lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I will find any way to fight to be better for my team. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this dude gets it. Yeah. And not like I knew the answer, but I was like, that is something that I want to have
too. Like you're going to exhaust every option at any resource to gather information or gather inspiration to go out and find a way to win.
Yeah. That's awesome. Want to talk some fights this weekend? Should we
it.
talk a little bit about the top 3 or 4 fights this
We're
weekend?
trying to find him a flight.
Yeah,
I know.
You gonna try to go down or what? You gonna try to go to New Orleans?
It's a tough situation. We leave for Sunday for family vacation, so I can't make it back from New Orleans to there, but we're trying to find a way.
Yeah. Awesome.
PJs.
Yeah, she's working on it.
PJs.
All right. Yeah. All right. This is the UFC 318 My Bookie betting breakdown. We'll touch on just a couple of the fights. I want to start with the fight that I think actually will probably be the best on the card behind the main event. Daniel Zellhuber and Michael Johnson is going to be awesome. I know that's your boy.
All right.
I know Zellhuber's your boy. We'll
Are
give
we back
the
to back now as Ige
Yes.
and Zellhuber?
Yeah. What happened? I thought he was the co-main event.
I don't know, dude. I thought so too. And then like Dan was saying that people were bitching about him being the co-main event.
Like Paulo Costa's Sorry, Paulo, you're great.
But dude, like
you
Ige
fight
and
once a year.
Pitbull, that fight's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I know. I saw that
Is there
too.
a bat in here?
All right,
sick.
well let's touch on it real quick. Michael Johnson plus 350, Daniel Zellhuber minus 525. Huge favorite. Michael Johnson's been fighting for about 25 years, so it makes sense. What do you? We'll start with you. Obviously, you're cornering Daniel.
Right.
You know what are some? And Daniel's been calling for this fight.
Yeah.
he's been
He
going
has.
off on Michael
Of all
Johnson
people.
on Instagram and
the
stuff
nicest
like
guy in
that.
the world, Daniel Zellhuber.
Obviously, we don't want to give too much away, but what are some of the things that you guys have been working on and you see with Michael Johnson you got to be wary of?
I mean, it's obvious. I have a guy who is 6'4" that fights at 155.
It's crazy.
Right? You know,
What was the line? What was the line you told him in the corner
Oh, fuck. Did I tell you this one?
No.
about using his jab?
I said, if God blessed you with 10 inches of dick, would you cut it in half? And Daniel's like, no. And I go, then use your fucking length. Use your jab.
I'm gonna try to find a way to use that one. I gotta find a way to use that one.
Yeah.
And Daniel's just like sitting on the stool. He's like,
He's doing the math in his head. He's like,
10
no, I don't think so.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not going to cut it in half.
Yeah.
I was like, well, start using your length, bud. Yeah, that was, So obviously, use his height, use his anatomy to our advantage, and I think that's the biggest thing that Daniel gets in trouble with is his biggest downfall is that he's Mexican.
Because he just loves to bite down on that
Loves to
mouthpiece,
bang,
man.
bro.
Yeah. Who was the fight in the Sphere? Because he could have won that fight, but he chose
Esteban
to
Ribovic.
Ribovic, yeah, Ribovic. That fight was awesome. by
Fight
the
of
way.
the year.
Yeah,
That
that
fight
fight-
was insane.
Yeah, that fight was incredible. Do you watch these guys? Like, have you watched
I'm
Michael
not great on the
Johnson?
matchups. No.
Yeah.
I'm just listening right now.
Yeah, I know. It's the best part of this whole thing.
And I get biased. I just go for whoever.
Of course,
you know.
Daniel and Dan Ige on the next one. But yeah, let's touch on Ige and Pitbull. Ige minus 175, Pitbull plus 137. Ige was calling for this fight for Pitbull's debut, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to fight him a couple months ago or whatever. What is it about Pitbull that Ige finds?
He's a legend.
Yeah,
Ige wants to challenge himself versus arguably one of the best featherweights to ever do it.
definitely.
Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but Pitbull might not be the household name amongst the MMA community, but the ones that are in the know, we know.
Man.
Pitbull's a savage, bro, and he's
Been
a
around
legend.
forever.
And just another guy like all the who's who that Dan's fought throughout his career. This is another one of those guys. So it's a great opportunity to go out and compete. I don't say Pitbull looked his best
Yeah.
in the Yair fight, but stylistically, we know what kind of problems Yair poses to fighters.
Right. That's what I was going to say. To me, it felt like it was just a bad style matchup for
100%.
Pitbull to make his debut against.
Yeah.
He's a much better fighter than that. So, I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, I'm going with Team XC. I think Ige nukes him, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then we're going to talk about the main event because Ige should have been the co-main event.
Yep.
And Coach, I got to get your thoughts just on this. Is such a banger of a matchup.
I like Porier as a person.
Me too.
Yeah.
And he's
I just
from
like him
where
as
I'm
a guy.
from. Like we're
Yeah,
I'm from
I like him as a
Mississippi.
guy.
He's from Louisiana. I love cheering for him. But I love Max too, man. Like he's been such a fan favorite for so long.
What was the fight? Went toe to toe up until the last.
Gaethje.
Gaethje.
That was Max and Gaethje.
Max
right?
and Gaethje,
So we
yeah.
watched that as a team.
Did you?
Yeah, because that's like the whole that's like the principle of like the prevent defense. Of like you have like you're pretty much kind of winning the fight.
Yeah,
like you have the ability to just kind of step out of it and like take a walk and do it. But like no, like the mindset to be able to like I'm winning this fight, but I'm actually going.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of prevent.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that was one of the things that we watched because it showed that principle of like. Can you still be as confident and as aggressive even when you know that you kind of have the advantage?
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Yeah. Bro, they're gonna do it in this fight too. If it gets to the last 10 in the 5th round,
Banging.
100%. That's happening again in this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right, huh? Because Dustin got up off his stool early and looked at Max and did like this. And Max said, Max shook his finger and got up. He's like, all right, let's go.
No, that was gangster.
Bro,
when
that
they both
was
like looked over, he was just drinking his water. He was like,
yep. That shit was so cool, bro. And that was like both those fights, co-main and main event, were like both the fights of the year because that was Izzy and Gastelum.
Yeah,
they beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
What do you like? Again, they're probably just going to beat each other's ass for 25 minutes. But like from a technical standpoint, you know, how do you see the fight? Like, is it Dustin's boxing again that's going to be the decider, or
I think how do you approach it? Do you stay in open stance or you try to match stance? Why would
from
you
Halloway to match
Yes,
stance? Yeah,
I would match stance if I'm Halloway because it puts my calf kick in line. I can start breaking down a boxer's base off the lead leg. If I stay open stance, and obviously I'm trying to send kicks up the gut and try to attack his body. The biggest thing I think if you're Max that's going to be important is Halloway has a little bit of a lower hand placement with his left hand. So by kicking that side, you're going to occupy his left hand by making him block the kicks. So me personally, I think if you're Max, I'd be a kick heavy game plan. And of course, if you're Dustin, it's all about the boxing and closing distance.
Yeah.
And then Dustin, to me, has some of the best body work game. That body work starts to break guys down in 5 rounds, and Max, he's a freaking Hawaiian coconut head, dude. Right? So you're going to have to break the dude down in the body to try to back upstairs. So I'm excited for this fight, man.
I can't wait, man. I cannot wait. And I want to see how Max looks at 55 compared to when they fought at 55 the second time.
Sure.
He didn't look like he did against Gaethje physically.
Yeah.
In that second Porier fight. His body, he looked a little bit softer. Like, he definitely didn't look like he put the weight on the right way.
Where's your go-to meals out there?
Where?
New Orleans.
Room service.
What?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I'll give you the spots.
I mean,
I'll give you the spots.
room service.
Yeah.
Dude.
Where's the spot we went to last year? You remember? No, it was something Rebirth. Yeah, Rebirth.
Oh, Rebirth.
It was pretty good. It was good.
Yeah.
That's like the extent of our
But
conversations.
we're never
on the
there
road.
for
Like,
that long.
Where we
Yeah, you're there
so
for
like most of our
36 hours.
conversations are like, I'm in the city. Do you know a trainer? Or I'm in the city. Do you know have a place to eat?
Where we eating at?
Yeah. I'll text you some spots for
Yeah.
sure. Commander Palace, Camellia Grill. Like, there's
I'm
some,
trying to bring back 15 pounds with me, bud.
those are
to
places
get
you can go to.
thick.
Yeah, those are
Trying to
places
come
you
back
can go
thick.
to.
Just beignets.
Yeah, the beignets are the best. Just don't sneeze or breathe around them. Just put it right in.
Yeah, it looks weird.
Yeah, so Max Holloway minus 135, Porier plus 105.
Oh,
Surprised
Porier's
Max
the
is
dog?
Yeah, I'm surprised Max is the
Wow.
favorite. Yeah, as of now. Who
Okay.
knows on
All
fight
right.
time, but
Shit.
yeah.
What's the line on Ige, out of curiosity?
Ige was minus 175, Pitbull
Okay.
plus 137.
All right. Nice.
So Ige is, and that's as of today, which is about 6 days before the fight. So
Hey, what if we throw
definitely
Joe in
could
the
change.
corner? He'll come out.
I think you should.
Oh, no.
I think you absolutely
out.
should. He could
That's
be the
actually,
Dewey. He just does this in the background,
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
out with the
Most of the songs on my playlist for like games and stuff are like fighters coming out songs.
Really?
That's our next question. So,
Yeah, I was
how-
gonna say,
like,
what
that's
is
how
your
I base a
pregame-
lot of my playlist.
Really?
Yeah.
So, like, give me an example. Like, what?
I mean, Ige
who's-
came out to DMX at last year's fight, right?
Yeah, but remember I was telling you they messed up?
Yeah.
We were supposed to come out to Muddy Waters.
Yes, and they
management.
were-
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Heidi didn't get it in time.
That's
so it
so
came out
funny.
to DMX, but DMX still slapped. We're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
still
No, that was a sick
dope.
one.
Yeah,
Did
it was
you
I mean,
dope.
it all really started with like Anderson Silva coming out to Ain't No Sunshine.
Sunshine.
It really started with that.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw that, I was like, man, every song has to be able to you have to be able to close your eyes and put yourself in that situation.
Definitely.
So Dan did it with DMX. One of the fights I went to, Diego Lopez came out to I think Devastated, but Joey Badass.
Joey Badass,
yeah,
yeah.
He came
that
out to
song's
that.
dope.
That was a good song. I think it was Kevin Holland in the fight in Utah came out to
Oh yeah, Kevin's on.
what was it? Damn, I forgot I just
He
had
changes his quite a
He
bit.
does.
It was Gunna.
Yeah.
I think it was
it
Gunna.
Gunna? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Poirier is one of my favorites.
Someone came out to It's a Beautiful Day, and now me and my kids listen to that like every morning.
By,
Thank you for sunshine. Thank you for rain.
Yeah.
Someone came out to that. So like that's one of my favorite things is studying like how can a song put you in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did so we always ask these guys these questions. Favorite or if the arena, what arena are you fighting in? Okay.
Yep, okay.
What's your
The
walkout song?
Garden.
Garden for sure.
The Garden, yep.
And you got to pick one
Yep.
walkout song.
Probably going Mob Deep, Survival of the Fittest.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Damn, that's good.
Mob Deep's
There was
so
a
good.
show on Netflix. I forgot the name of it, but it was like it wasn't an American show. It was overseas, and the dude came out to the Meek Mill song. And
Dreams and Nightmares?
no, it was a different one. I got to get the name of it, but it was like that shit was
Yeah,
sick. It was one of the
slap.
sickest coming out scenes of a fight show that I
Yeah.
had seen. But I'd probably pick Mob Deep, Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah.
All right, you get 4 corners, and one's got to be on your roster of the Celtics.
4 corners. What do you mean?
You got
Like 4 cornermen.
who's
like
walking
who's your
out
head
with you?
coach, your 2
I mean,
trainers.
my
Yeah,
wife.
I mean, me and you.
Obviously. So we got my wife,
Okay, love it.
because I think she'll put me.
She'll
be
probably
more
hype you up,
She'll
yeah.
be. Yeah. She'll
Yeah.
be. Like, I would love.
Why
to
you
see
being a
that.
bitch?
Like just motherfucking the
Yeah,
crowd or
yeah,
something.
I can't wait.
So my wife, you, because you know my Professor Alex, and then I don't know
Who from the Celtics?
Probably like see if. Oh, I have to pick someone from the Celtics.
Or I'm sure Kara would probably.
All right, so we got my wife, we got you, my wife, you, Professor Alex, and then if I'm picking someone from the Celtics, it's gotta be. I'd like to see Brad walk out.
Yeah?
Yeah, because that would be so uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, Brad.
Yeah, all right. Hell yeah.
That's by the way, was
I would actually love to see my wife walk
Yeah.
out.
Oh, dude.
she'd probably be hyped, huh?
Yeah.
Was he the coach when y'all met in the Final Four?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so crazy,
Yeah, yeah.
bro. That's probably a full circle moment too, huh?
No, it is. And then I worked for him, and then
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get you out. I posted some fan questions.
Okay.
So we're just gonna go through a couple. Okay. Some of them are kind of the gimmicky ones, but I think they're a little interesting. So you're
that's a good team of like Alex running the jiu-jitsu and you running like the stand-up game and the game plan. I feel pretty confident.
We're good.
Wife
Yeah,
is
we're
the hype
set.
woman.
Yeah. And
then-
if the shit hits the fan, if it's 1-1 going into
I need to add somebody.
Who else?
I need to add Yuri. So Professor Alex couldn't make my first competition. So Yuri came, and this dude's a beast.
Okay.
But he's one of Professor Alex's students, and it felt awesome to be coached.
Yeah.
And he inspires me because like he just puts himself in any tournament and just wins.
I love it.
And like he's been training right there, and so he's one of the reasons why I wanted to compete because of how he's done it, and so like he'd have to be there too. So
All right.
like 5 or 6.
Let's go.
That's dope. Okay, let's do these. So first question was if you could do an all-time starting 5, but of players who changed the game of basketball.
Okay. I mean, I don't like talking about other players. 'Cause it takes away from my players.
Okay.
So I'll just pick 5 of my guys. I'll just
Okay.
pick our starting 5.
Okay, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
I feel like there's 3 that are like non-negotiables, like Magic, Larry, and Mike. Like they have to be like in the.
Yeah.
in
I'll
the
pick my
thing.
team.
Yeah. Okay. Starting
love it.
5.
I'm
your
loyal to
team.
my guys.
If you were giving a scouting report on Joe Mazzulla at West Virginia,
Oh, don't even guard him. Don't even act like he's out there. Yeah. Just
No
don't
offense.
even acknowledge his existence.
just straight defense.
Yes.
All right. What was the? We talked about that one. Oh, how do you think about or apply mental health when coaching in today's era?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 pieces to that. I think there's mental health / mental performance. Right? I think there's it's a 2-part system. Like there's obviously a clinical approach towards people who are in difficult situations, who are struggling, and not only in the sport itself, but in life, where there is a mental a mental health there, and the Celtics do a great job of having that. But I think there's also a mental performance piece to where just like you walk into the weight room and you train the brain is a muscle. And so just like you train every muscle you have in your body, can you get to the point where you train your brain like you train and you almost have a mental performance weight room, so to speak, that you work to? And so I think you have to acknowledge both pieces to that. Both pieces are important, and I think it's massive for performance.
Who are some coaches that you lean on in the NBA, if any? I know you guys are.
I mean, all of them. So like, I know I don't like go out of my way to talk to coaches during the season, because I think it's similar to, it's funny, like when I had a competition last month and I was standing and they were waiting to call our names and I was standing next to the mat and my opponent was standing there and my coach called me back and he was like, nah, don't even be in his line of sight. And so like I refrain from talking to coaches because you don't want to. There was a moment where I had dinner with a coach at his house and he gave away a piece of the game plan without even knowing it, and I used it against him. And from that point on, I was like, I'm not giving a leak away. during the season.
Yeah.
And he was actually a friend. And I worked with him, and he thought he was just having a couple assistants over. And I found a way to like interrogate him to where he gave away some of the game plan, and I used it against him. And I was like, I'm never letting that happen. But I have respect for every coach. I think just like the players, I think every coach in the NBA is better than I am. I think they all have great strengths. And I think if you pay attention, you can learn something from every coach.
Fair enough. And then the last question, is there something you like more about this era of the NBA compared to previous eras?
I mean, that's a tough question because I wasn't in the eras.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be a kind of a little bit of a troll and say I like the 3-point line. Hope they had a 4-point line.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
No, I mean, it's hard because I wasn't in that era.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
I mean,
That's awesome.
Favorite book?
Oh, that's a good one.
The Art of Learning.
What are you reading right now?
The Pixar Creative Inc.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm reading Pixar, the Creative Inc. about how they kind of, navigated changing the animation game and how they built their culture.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I have the next one on my list is going to be Bill O'Reilly came out with a new book about all the presidents, and like each chapter is like a 5-page thing on the presidents.
Really?
Yeah, I
Check
got
it out.
into. Dude, you gotta look at Amazon Prime has these sick documentaries on the presidents.
Really?
You're gonna start with Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
It was sick.
Yeah.
So I'm on this big kick about.
Have you read the People's History of America?
No, I haven't.
I'll send you that one.
No.
You'll like it.
All right, but
Yeah,
I'm on
that's
that
good.
one right now, so that's the next one. But the Pixar one's great.
All right.
Yeah.
Check it out.
How they built Pixar from like the ground up.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap up and
No,
get
we
to
gotta
training?
train. We gotta
Yeah.
fight. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, this was a pleasure for me as someone who grew up loving basketball and MMA. Made my
you.
career in MMA.
bro. My dog.
This has been amazing. So thank you for your time. Thank you, E. And let's get to some training.
Let's do it. Thank you.
That does it for another episode of Versus Us with Eric Nicksick. Please make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know who you want to see on the show. Also, make sure you follow the show on social media at VSUS Pod. For Eric and Joe, I'm Randy. We'll see you guys next time.
Deuces.
Perfect.